Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with T, and I'm T. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. And we know what Monday is. Monday is hashtag MCM Man Convo Monday, my series Men Hurt Too, where I have a man on and we talk about real life things from his perspective. And we just chat it up and we get some real perspective on what men really want and what we assume. So we're going to get started right now, and I am going to read my guest bio. This is a friend of mine, a colleague, a brother. We've been on several panels together. We always end up in the same places. I always end up on panels with him and two of my other brothers. So this is Dr. Oliver T. Reid, is a multi-best-selling, award-winning author, motivational speaker, and the founder and president of I Am a Solution Consulting Firm, LLC. A human development organization providing specialized relationship consulting and coaching services. Known as the relationship architect, he uses cutting-edge techniques to help individuals build and restore their family, marriage, ministry, and business relationships while leading them to live into their highest potential. In addition, he is the creator of the revolutionary interactive card game for singles and couples, The Inner View. Within the past 7 years, Dr. Reid has published 14 best-selling books, contributed to 10 anthologies, and has won multiple awards for his literary work, including the 2016 IALA Distinction of Excellence Legendary Honoree Award. Dr. Reid has been featured on HuffPost, Black Enterprise, ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, and other international media outlets. Welcome, welcome, Dr. Reid. How are you this morning?
I am doing great, Trey. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I mean, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm healthy. I can't even complain.
Right. Same here. Same here. I'm just blessed to be hanging out with you this morning. It's been a great weekend. How was your Mother's Day?
My Mother's Day was good. I'm a mother. My kid is healthy. I'm alive. We quarantined, but it's okay. So ball rolling real fast because our time is going to go like that. We may go a little bit over the 30 minutes if that's okay with you. So,
that's good.
Okay, our topic today is, do men lack self-awareness, or are they just not willing to address their issues or their trauma? So the first thing I'm going to talk about with you, like I do with all my men that come on here, is I want to ask you a little bit about your background, how you were raised, what was your relationship like with your mother and your father? So bring us up to speed on that.
Well, definitely. I grew up with my mother. My mother was a strong, still today, strong, and I want to salute all the strong mothers out there. My mother was a prayer warrior in the church. From a kid, all I knew was church. Even though I was raised in the hood, I was raised in the inner city of Charlotte, we were grounded in the things of God, grounded in church. But I grew up with her loving and nurturing, but being very strong, and some would today say domineering kind of personality. And that did kind of impact me. I was estranged from my father, my biological father, up until the age of 30.
Wow.
34. He was in my life maybe 4 times, 4 or 5 times, in 4 major events. And he was in my city, in my area, but we never connected, that made me a very angry young man. I was angry all the time. And then I was raised by default by a stepfather who was physically, emotionally, and I would say even spiritually abusive.
Wow.
For up until I think I left for college, maybe 18 years. So I went through domestic violence from a standpoint of my stepfather coming in. He was 6'5", 245, would come in off the street, pull me out of bed at 5 years old, hang me by my feet, and whoop me endlessly. And so I had a lot of resentment for him, my dad, and even my mom at the time, because why was I dealing with this as a young kid?
Wow. So you said you had a lot of resentment for him. You had a lot of resentment for your mom and a lot of resentment for your biological dad.
Yes.
So how did you release that resentment first to go into a better place in your life?
Yeah, it was one of those things where you talk about self-awareness. I had to become self-aware. And it wasn't until I had no plans for college at the point in time. I was like, hey, it wasn't something that we thought about in the inner city. You think about getting a job or hustling or doing something else. And I remember dating a young lady who was from middle class at that time. And she was a captain of the cheerleading team. I was like, pretty popular guy. And her family said to me, you got to do something with your life. And she said, my dad said, you got to do something. So join this group. And it was something called Campus Connections, which was a college touring agency for minorities and really taking them out to view colleges. So I joined that club. I didn't even have the money to pay. I don't know how I came up with the money to pay. But anyway, we joined this club. We started going to 50 historically Black colleges. At the time, I found Winston-Salem State, because I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Went there, my life changed because I started to get educated, get out of the neighborhood. So I think it started when I started to change my environment. I started to focus on things that pour my stuff into. And then writing became an outlet. Because a lot of times people say, how do you write so many books? Like you were saying in the bio, how do you become a bestseller? And it's not that I'm a great writer and all those different things. It's because writing is my passion, but it's also my story. I always have material based on what I experienced in life.
Wow. So this is the question. Do Black men lack self-awareness? Like women, we are out here, you know, getting help, going to conferences, you know, because you speak at a lot of women's conferences. Mm-hmm. That's how we met. Like, so, right. And we trying to be aware of ourselves. That's the one thing I learned about myself, right? I lack self-awareness, which is a life skill. So we think of life skills and we think of all this other stuff. So the important thing is to know myself. And so I got into situations and things I shouldn't have did and pointing fingers and blaming people because I lack self-awareness of what I was bringing to the table and what I was allowing. So do our Black men lack self-awareness?
Yes, I think one of the biggest things is because by default, going back to my personal story, we're not taught to be aware. We're taught to survive.
Whoa, wait. You know I got to get my pen.
We're taught to survive. We're taught even from, you know, it's like African men. Before you get American, I like to go back African American. From the roots of origin where we come from, we had an identity. We had a rite of passage.
Wow.
Kings. We were tribes. We were chiefs. We come into now a system where we were undermined, bamboozled, our women stripped from us, our identity, our masculinity broken. So now we are formulated to work and not govern.
Oh.
So this society is all about work, accomplishments. You talk about a lot of African men right now, African-American men is what we do. I own 2 businesses. It's all about work rather than where do you reign?
Right.
Where is your crown? Your crown, I think, is indisposable. It's not based on income. It's about where you stand as a man and where have you come from. So we don't have a lot of times an identity. So how could we be self-aware?
Whoa. Wow, that's deep. Because who are you, right?
Who am I? How can I be self-aware? And how can I be, so I end up by default, a lot of young men that I talk to, men, being self-absorbed because then I buffer my insecurity.
Whoa, you gonna
stop
in the morning. You gonna stop all fast. I ain't even get this yet. Hold on. Go on. You're going too fast for me right now. I tell people all the time, ladies, I hope you got your pens and your paper, and brothers, because we're here again because so many people are. I'm an advocate for Black men because I think there's good in every Black man. I think that you guys, a lot of guys don't know how to communicate, articulate what it is that they're going through, and they don't want to discuss their trauma because every Black man has been through trauma, and it doesn't have to be drastic trauma of child molestation and things of that nature, but all Black men have been traumatized by something. And you said it goes back to, let's go back to just being African instead of African American men. The trauma started way back then. So yes. A lot of women and a lot of people that I talk to, even Black men's children, are living by or feel like they're living by this rule of my way or the highway, because when somebody has a discussion with them, they want to be angry or feel attacked or right. So do Black men live by the my way or the highway syndrome?
I think indirectly. No, I think indirectly we do, because again, going back to self-absorbed, because that is my scab to try to cover my scar. So what I can control, let's talk about, we don't have time to talk about really the African-American subculture of the church, which you put a lot of pastors in position. This is the only way, stemming from slavery, stemming from a place where this is the only place that I feel like I have a kingship or ownership or right. So at home, a lot of times men are then self-absorbed because this is what I do. I fill my life with stuff.
Right.
Right. Here's what I got. This is how much money I got in the bank. Here's the rims on my ride. this is what, let me go deep. This is what's in my 401k for the educated, male. This is where the house I bought. This is where I can take you. This is how many women I've been through. Because I become self-absorbed because I don't know myself and I don't know that she comes from me and she is not an alien. So let me control her. Let me control everything around me. I talk about in my book, Manhandle, that when men are suppressed and when men don't know their identity, they suppress everything around them. The dog can't bark. Going back to my stepfather, he would come out, for example, come home, he's deceased now, but he would come home and beat me because things wasn't running right in the streets. The numbers wasn't adding up.
Wow.
So I have to take it out on somebody, and he resented me because I looked like my father, a child that wasn't his, right? And so he was self-absorbed, so that's where abuse stimulates from. So a lot of men are that type of people that are self-centered, and they can't self-care, which is another whole thing because I can't show weakness or vulnerability in my domain, in my ring.
So those of us who are around men who, and I don't necessarily believe it's because they want to be mean or they want to, control somebody. I believe they shut down instead of dealing with their issues. So it's my way or the highway. This is what it is. This is who I am. This is what it is. How do we begin to break those barriers?
Mm-hmm. I think, wow, this is one of the things that it goes back to identity. I talk about releasing the king inside of every man. Trey is a wolf inside of every man. Whether you're on Wall Street or the back street, you're the janitor or the CEO. You have a king in you and a wolf. Now, this is the powerful thing about it. Every man has a king and every man has a wolf, but it's who you feed the most. A lot of times, our sisters based on the trauma try to go in and fix or autocorrect this man. It's not your job to fix this man or autocorrect him. It is your responsibility as women, and this is a tip, I hope y'all writing, to be aware of his king.
Wow.
And aware of his wolf. Don't try to fix either one, but it is your ability and your accountability if you're going to be with this man to know which one to feed. For example, if you speak to the kingship in me, right, and you feed that, it's going to starve the wolf. But if you're fueling the wolf in me, the negative behavior, the negative attitude, the negative mindset, because what you tolerate, you cannot change.
Whoa.
What you tolerate, you cannot change. But what I make you aware of, I make you accountable of.
Oh.
Now, this is the thing that I'm going to help women. Just because you make him accountable doesn't mean he's going to change that day. And doesn't mean that you got to get out of the relationship. But what it does say is we're going to address these things on the table. Now, let me go biblical real quick for those biblical scholars. If you look at Jacob, Jacob was given a name and an identity. He didn't have any control. Men don't have control of what life named them, the situations that they were born into, their mothers, the lineage of what has happened to them, but it names them. And with the name trade comes a function.
Oh.
God showed me something that was powerful. A bear cannot be a zebra because of what Adam named it. God didn't name it. Adam the man named it. So a gorilla cannot be a pigeon because of the name. Let me go deeper. A man cannot be a woman, no matter how many sex changes, because of the name.
Wow.
It's the origin of something. So if this man is given a name, it forms an identity. So what I'm saying, women, I thank God for a strong mom, because what she did as a young person in the hood, she called me great. She said that I was a prophet to the nations. She would speak life into my life, which then would counteract my reality and form a new reality.
Whoa.
Let me say that again. When you speak positive affirmations, I heard somebody say that the guy was cheating on her and was doing all these things. And I think it was Miles Monroe. He shares a story. He says, but he told the wife to start speaking and celebrating his kingship. So the wife started to say, hey, at least you come home.
Wow.
And he was expecting, like, hold on, wait a minute. So she started saying, hey, your food's ready at 2 or 3 in the morning. What they did, she started feeding the kingship. Eventually, the side chick, the woman that was outside, started to not get as much time because he was coming home to the affirmation. I'm not saying a symptom or a method of taking abuse, but I'm saying that you have the power to feed the king and starve the wolf. If you start feeding into negative behavior, then you confirm a false identity in the mindset. That's a man too. That's a man to a man. That's a woman to a man. Feed the king. Find out what his communication style is. What it is that makes him tick, and feed those areas and starve the wolf.
Wow. How do you even begin to find out whether you're feeding the wolf or the king? Because we always think we're feeding the king.
Mm-hmm.
We get in a moment and the king ain't listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what's powerful about this is listening, time. And I think one of the things that we try to do, again, take accountability for the change.
Right.
You need to just take accountability with the food. What are you feeding it? Everybody talking about cooking. It's not that, we talked about this on another show, it's not about you just cooking and being there for the man. Is, are you feeding him with the ingredient? Because one thing about men, we want to, a lot of times, as we are created, we have to manifest. Whether he's paraplegic or he's the strongest man alive, we have to manifest in a relationship. So some of the things, I always tell people, the jelly jar. I'm gonna give women, this is the tip. I didn't mean to go here, but this is the tip right here, the jelly jar. Women, we know as men, y'all can open the jelly jar. We know that y'all filled the jelly jar with something. But if you come to us, you just got to know how to play, all right? Come to us, we know that the women run the game. Hey, babe, can you open this for me? You have the power to open it up. You bought it with your own money. But if you come and say, hey, babe, open it up, I can't get this open. Man, opens that up. He might not say that to you, but hey, man, I manifested something. They couldn't get it open, I opened it up. Well, I'm feeding something because life is beating him down. He can't open up at work. He's the brightest on the team, but because his complexion, because his status, he can't even speak, right? But at home, you make him feel like he can lift the building.
Wow.
He may be Clark Kent, but if you make him feel like Superman, and now I'm just giving you one example to be able to yield. Look at this, women. The greatest person in the relationship a lot of times submits.
Wow. Wow.
The person that says the least. So a lot of times, if you use your words wisely, I talk about it in my book too, Trey, about using the right word. If you know, you got to figure out his trigger words, because I talk about in the book trigger men, and trigger men have always been triggered. They're the people that's mad at everything, so they go pop off at the dime. You don't want to feed into a trigger man. You don't want to go blow to blow with a trigger man. But when you start releasing freedom, words of affirmation, words of kindness, you can't respond what he's going to do back. But you can decide how you're going to deal with that. Because you need to say, hey, I'm not going to deal with the abuse. But give it time. A man who's been through any type of trauma, you know this by what you do, is not going to immediately be fixed in the next few minutes. You're going to have those things where it's going to be, okay, hold on. Let's see how you handle this. Work through it. But it's also being able to use the right words that unlock, that lock stuff out. So if a man is dealing with trust, you want to give him freedom and openness.
Right.
You don't want to play games and be like, if you know he's dealing with trust issues, why are you looking through my phone? You might want to say, hey, babe, my phone is available. Here, right. Let's work out. It's all in what you want to invest. But I ain't going to take this. It's not a lot of times we're dating the wrong person or with the wrong person. We have not learned how to feed that king and starve that wolf. So it's many different things you can do, but one of the biggest things is finding out what makes him tick. Find out his history.
Right.
I always say this to women, quit sleeping with him if you haven't had an interview, you haven't been with him, you know what I mean? You don't know his family, you don't know anything about him, you haven't done the research to understand. Like later on, we're giving our bodies as women and men on both sides, and now we're inside of this situation where you have been feeding the wolf for 6 months, 7 months, sometimes 2 years. Sometimes we're still married and don't know how to talk to our men.
Wow, been feeding the wolf. Do men find it easier to lie to themselves rather than to deal with their issues and their trauma?
Yes, I think it definitely is easy. One of the biggest things that I find with men everywhere, deeper than complexion, we've been trained to say what we don't feel.
Oh.
And feel what we don't say.
Wow.
By nature. Little Johnny, I remember myself, little Oliver, I fall. Me and my sister, I got a sister that's a year apart. She falls, everybody runs, oh, baby, you know, oh, poor baby. 2 or 3 years old, we pick them up, we kiss the little wound. As a boy, when I fall, get up, man, little man, get up, quit crying, suck it up.
Right.
Okay, so my response was different from birth. My response and the obligation to respond a certain way was put on me from the beginning. So then I'm saying now, Okay, I'm 14. Going back how angry I was so angry I used to punch holes in walls because I was good in basketball. I'm at the basketball court and I'm at the basketball game. My dad wasn't there, right? And everybody, I'm looking at my friend. I'm riding home with his dad. I'm staying weekends at his dad's house. I was angry. Well, where my dad at? Right? So what I'm saying is that caused such a pain and a resentment inside of my life to where now, with 20 years old, you started to ask me, Trey, how you feeling? I'm cool.
Right.
Ain't nobody listening anyway.
Right.
I'm great. Hey, babe, how was your day? I'm straight. Okay, I'm cool. So now I'm suppressing. I'm hurting, but I'm so used to pain that that's now my reality. So now I lie. Oh, I'm good. Then, okay, why he ain't talking to me? Because if women don't pick this up, then you start unloading. Well, hey, babe, well, this is how my day was. Well, I'm gonna go check out. I'll be back. I'm gonna run some errands with my boys real quick. And then you sitting there, why he don't talk to me? Every time we start dealing with issues, because by nature we was trained to feel what we don't say and say what we don't feel. So that's why the asking of the questions and getting to know the man is so important.
Are some men's passwords so scrambled that we will never ever break it down or communicate? And for those men who are scrambled and for the women who are dealing with them, and I'm not just talking about intimacy, I'm talking about mothers, aunties, cousins, dealing with your brother and you trying to get through to him because he's been in the streets or he's abusive to his wife or whatever, and you're trying to speak to the king in him or you're trying to unlock the code. Are there some men who you're just not going to unlock the code? And if they are, what do you do about that? If you're in a personal relationship with a man and you can't unlock his code, you've been extremely, I'm speaking to the king, I'm trying. What do you do with that man?
Wow, that is so important. I'm glad you asked this. Now this is gonna be a headbanger real quick. Because it could be that you're not talking to the right man for you.
Whoa.
Sometimes we put our capes on and we're not designed to save everybody or to speak to everybody. Let's look at Superman. Superman didn't save everybody. There were some people on the other part, he couldn't get there in time. What I mean is that your ID, women, is not for every man's password or lock.
Wow.
Now that's some things you can be with them for 20 years, do everything that I'm telling you, and it's not gonna work because you never was designed to unlock him because that was not the person for you. And then this is the powerful part of it too, is that you have to also learn that when you do that, if I take your phone, Trey, I think you got an iPhone, and I put in my password, it is not going to work even though it's the same device.
Whoa.
Now this is a powerful thing. You can have a man, you can love that man, but if that man never gets to the point of understanding his identity, his purpose, the powerful thing of it is, like I said earlier, I tell men that your women are not aliens. Quit fighting what's in the inside of you first.
Wow.
If I had time to talk about the biblical principles, look how God created relationships. He didn't create relationships from the outside in. He created relationships from the inside out. He used a rib, a part of you with a different perspective.
Whoa.
That's still you.
Whoa.
Now, this is the crazy part. Some of you women are with somebody and y'all got no perspective. Y'all don't got no identity from the first place. Y'all never even had bone in my bone. And I say bone in my bone. I'm working on a book now, Trey, where it says it's going to be the anatomy of marriage from the inside out. And I'm dealing with the fact of this, that even when God used bone in my bone, think about when we eat chicken, we have to get through the skin, the meat, and then we get to the bone of the chicken, unless it's filleted.
Uh-oh.
And some of us got filleted relationships.
Ooh.
There's no bone, there's no structure. So what happened is that man has to realize that you come from him.
Right.
And if he can't realize that, guess what? You're the best thing that happened in my life. You're something that really, bone in my bone, structure my structure. See, what we start off with this trait, flesh in my flesh, which means how he makes me feel.
Right. Oh, uh-oh.
What I can see. Ooh, look at his skin. Look at his stature. So then that's good, but we have to start with the bone. What is his structure? What is his foundation? And a lot of times, the only way you're going to get there, I created something called the interview game. The only way you're going to get there is asking the questions that start with the word, because every conversation starts with a word, but we're so busy talking, we forget about the words.
Right.
Each word forms a sentence, which starts a path of communication. But we're so busy, we don't go back and say, hey, what you mean? Hold on. You said a lot of sentences. Bro, what you say about the word? What does family mean to you, bro? Because family to him might be me and my cousin. I grew up in the street. And your family is everybody, extended cousins, whatever. So one of the day when y'all at your apartment chilling and you got 20 family members over there, and he's like, what's up? Because I'm only used to 2 people. His identity of family, now you're arguing. And he's not a family person. Yes, he is a family person. He just doesn't look at family the way you look at it.
Uh-oh. So when you say you have to ask questions, we know that a lot of men, and I'm just saying it from my experience and the experience of the clients that I deal with, a lot of men ain't answering questions. So I can't ask a question if he never wants to answer it. So, and we try to hang on and hold on. And I'm saying, even with family members and all of that other stuff, when is it time to just, and I hate to use the word give up, but when is it time to just say, okay, I've tried to ask these questions, don't want to answer them. So what is that? Is it the deep stuff so deep or what?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's the grace factor. I say the grace because every level of grace, and I know you might understand this, Trey, when I say this, the grace you have for one relationship may not be the grace you have for the next relationship. Now that's a whole different thing. Like I tolerated a lot in my 20s.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or I didn't tolerate a lot in my 20s because my patience wasn't good. It could go either way. Your level of maturation determines the level of your saturation. Let me go back. The level of your maturation, your maturity level in a relationship, a lot of times carries grace. But I always have another point, and this will help people out with that same question. I get it all the time. He'll call you what he sees. He will call you what he sees. What I mean by that is not from his verbal speaking, but a man will tell you in so many ways when it's time for you to give up.
Wow.
A lot of times we ain't listening. My biggest thing about it is he'll tell you with his time. One of the things I would tell women, if he ain't spending time with you, if you get locked out of time, we're not talking about a marriage. We're talking about a courtship. Different grace. Go back from when y'all dating and courtship, then when y'all married. Right. There's gonna be some times in your marriage, it may be a year where y'all ain't talking. That doesn't give you a right to divorce or whatever. Doesn't give you a right to stay or leave. I'm just saying from the standpoint, you in the beginning have to see time, affection. A man that gives you his time and affection. A lot of people think that women need love. They do need love, but from a woman, they need affection and protection. They need affection and protection. Different between bedroom.
Right.
And if that man is not giving you affection, he's not protecting. That protection not just, oh, I'm gonna fight somebody over you. Protection means I'm gonna block things. I'm gonna put up buffers so you don't have to deal with it. If he loves you, he's gonna spend time. He's gonna show that affection and protection. If you start seeing that, then you have to say, hey man, evaluate, because a lot of times, guess what? I say this real quick, women. I'm dropping some tips from men, and I'm putting men on blast real quick. Manipulation, Trey, takes participation.
Oh.
Let me put it like this. Manipulation takes participation. Let me go how mom used to say it. You probably heard it. In the South, my mom would say, first time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. Right. What she was saying is the first time I went through this, okay, you didn't know. Second time you found out and you have made a choice. So I'm gonna free both of us. Quit being the perpetrator and quit being the victim.
Right.
So both of y'all playing the game and y'all know what's going on. This is not talking about the things we go through in a relationships, the ups and downs. Ain't no perfect person, because if you get to a perfect scenario, you're gonna mess it up.
Oh.
Nobody's perfect. But what it is saying is, look at the trends. Manipulation takes participation. And I found that out like, oh, because if I don't participate in the manipulation, I'll break the cycle of that manipulation.
Right.
So I have to ask them, what are you participating in? Again, what have you challenged the king? And challenge the king ain't just nice words. Challenge the king is that, hey, I'm challenging you to come up, bro.
Right.
And maybe it's a separation for a period of time. Another thing I would say that I always talk about when I talk about interviews is that women, you got to give time. If you're trying to speak to this guy and he's not getting it, we have to get time to fall, even as we process as a kid. I remember my sister and I were real close, a year apart, Trey. My mom would tell me, boy, don't touch that stove. And I would look at that stove looked real good. And guess what I do? Get burnt.
Right.
My sister would look at that and be scared. Like, I'm not going to touch it.
Right.
But men got to touch it.
Right.
And you got to give us that time to bump our knee and bump our head. Now, It goes about the love and patience that you have for that situation. Because you may be telling him the same thing for 10 years, and then he realizes one day at work, dang, I should have done it that way. But if you're feeding him in the garden, just say, okay, I can't make you. I'm scheduling time to encourage you. That's all you got to do.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Dr. Oliver, you always come with the stuff. You always come with the stuff. It's another question. Do men lie to themselves who they are instead of working on who they want to be?
Yes, because it's easier. Go back to Genesis, and I'll say this from a biblical standpoint. Even if you're not a Bible reader, I like to use Jacob. Jacob was given a name that meant trickster, supplanter, con artist. His mom gave him that. His dad gave him that. So for 40 years, he's walking around doing what? Tricking, conning everybody. That's who he thought he was. Until God had to come to him and say, hey, bro, look at this. I'm not even going to give you money or stuff. I love God. He said, I'm not going to give you money or stuff, give you a fine woman. I got to change your name.
Whoa.
I got to change your name and your identity. You're no longer going to be called Jacob. Don't answer to that. You're going to be called Israel, one that prevails with God. What I have to tell people all the time, yes, if he doesn't know his identity, it's easy for him to stay where I am. I am what I am. Because guess what? This is what my dad raised me. This is how my mom raised me. This is how the streets raised me. This is how academia raised me. A lot of men are educated, but you have no substance.
Right.
You're smart, you're book smart, but at the end of the day, you're doing all these degrees because you never want to deal with the kid that feels like a failure.
Oh.
So you're putting stuff around you. So you got to come to that educated man and get on his level and say, hey, I know you're a prognosticator of your jurisdiction. I know that you have all these parameters around you, but I'm speaking to the king in you. It wasn't right what they did to you as a child.
Right.
I've had people with PhDs break right there because they got all this stuff and I started dealing with it. It wasn't right that your uncle touched you in that way.
Right.
It wasn't right that your mom wasn't there for you. They balling. They got degrees, Ferraris, all this other stuff, but they had never been spoken to. So yeah, man, it's easy to slip into that role. But again, how did I get there? I started to interview that man and start getting past the stuff. See, a lot of people can't have healthy relationships. Not that you got the wrong man. You just haven't been able to get past the stuff.
Right.
And get to his heart.
Wow. So what would you say to younger men who are actually listening to this broadcast, who are not willing to deal with their trauma, their issues? What would you say?
One of the things that I always say this, I always say this in the book, and I have something I call bait and cheese. First thing, I'll go back to the former question. Bait is the believing attitude. It's temporary. Bait is the believing attitude is temporary. A lot of times for the young men, I have to bait them because I have to get past the believing attitude is temporary. Because when you're young, you feel like you got so much time. That's one of the things. I ain't got to listen to you do because I got so much time. So I got to get past that. One of the things that I deal with young people is you have to trick them in a sense. You have to teach them without saying I'm teaching you. Right. And one of the ways I get to them is I open up my wounds. The upper generation, a lot of times what we lack is that we don't show you that we've been there.
Right.
We don't show you, hey, bro, it may be a different name, but it was still the same message. I was open and getting to them and being able to be around them. I don't ever go into a young people's circle saying, I'm going to teach you something.
Right.
I go in, I have to observe, and I fit in. Once I'm a part of the climate, then I can turn the thermostat. It's like coming to your house. First time I visit, you might fix my place. Hey, second time, you're like, hey, bro, food is in there. Now we're working for it. So then I might drop a conversation. Now that I'm in the house, can I turn the temperature up? Right. Like, go ahead, turn the temperature up. Same thing with young people. Once I'm in your environment, let me tell you, let me talk to you. And so getting into the houses, getting where they are, and I always say context is everything.
So what about our brothers who are of a certain age? And I mean, women, we go through things because, we get older. I mean, our boobs start to sag, of course. We get from our kids. We got battle wounds. We get a hair on our chin. So we know that men at a certain age, things start to change too.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I tell women, he going through something because imagine what we're going through. I'm 50. Imagine what I'm going through at 50 and I'm seeing stuff and I'm like, wait a minute, what's this? What should we know about a man of a certain age? And how should we be addressing them?
Yeah. Oh, one of the things I always talk about them, I call it the poor model, P-O-U-R. And what I mean by that, when we get older as men, we feel like our relevancy and our potency, we're not as potent as we used to be. So what I always try to do in relationships, and even with wisdom, I allow older men to pour into me. Tell me about the story, and they feel good. They start to feel, oh man, you want to listen to me, young buck? I'm like, yeah, man. Tell me how it is. But this is going to be something that I want to etch in your mind, and I talk about this a lot. I talk to men and women to get this point. Men stand erected, Trey, without erections.
Whoa.
Now let me break that down. A lot of times as men, we do it before women, where our potency, we don't get up like we used to do, ED, whatever you call TV, whatever you want to call it. All right, erectile dysfunction. You have to understand that you're deeper than an erection.
Uh-oh.
Women have to understand, yeah, he may have been throwing you around, y'all been on the chandeliers. 20 years in, he may not have had a potency, but you gotta then make it more valuable, make him more valuable than his performance. Good God Almighty. If y'all do that, I'm trying to help y'all say some stuff.
Oh.
My biggest thing about it is, because if you get emotionally connected, I tell men, get emotionally connected with her, because she will warm up differently. Right? Kids may be watching, but you get my point. Foreplay got to start up here, but not only there, foreplay of your relationship, foreplay of his destiny, not just sexual. Make him feel like at 57 and 60, he still can lift the house. Yeah. I used to see how older, I'm not saying we got to do it like older generation, but I used to be around my grandmother and them, and she would say, hey, daddy, come do whatever. My, granddad would waltz in there, belly hanging over. Right. Watch out, babe. Watch out, mom. He felt like he was doing something. This day and age, when you can't perform, we want to cut people off. Uh-oh. So pour. Y'all got to pour in these relationships. Let them pour. Find a deeper connection to get to where you got to go. Remember, there's many exits on the highway.
Right. Use them. Uh-oh. So we're here with, if you just tuned in, you're tuned in to hashtag Coffee with T, and this is my series, Men Hurt Too, where I have a man come on. We have Man Conversation Monday, where we have a brother come on and share with us from his experience, from his expertise and the things that he's done in life, and from just in general being around a whole bunch of men, because I like to bring men on so I can learn about men, because a lot of times as women, we come together, Dr. Oliver, have these conversations with each other, and we trying to figure out men. And yes. Like I said, I'm not just talking about intimate relationships. I'm talking about, our sons, like, my son did this, it's crazy and blah, blah, blah. My husband did this, my father did this, my father did this to my mother. We having these conversations trying to figure out what y'all thinking. For me, I needed to go to the source, and not as a intimate relationship, because everybody's talking about that. Why do men cheat? Why do men? I want to know why men behave as human beings in a certain way. So everybody that's listening right now, it's 9:37 now. So we're at the end of our half an hour. So I just want you to give a word about what do we need to do for Black men in society? What do y'all need from us? Because we trying to give y'all stuff, and we trying to do stuff, and we trying to assume stuff. What do y'all need from us, from your perspective?
Wow, I love the way you put that, because as queens, a lot of times you guys see our destiny way before we do. Let me put it from a biblical standpoint, and I like to do this because you can go read it, just from principles. Who saw the serpent first, Adam or Eve?
Oh, uh-oh.
The woman saw the serpent. Adam is the king of the garden. She's the queen, but she sees the serpent. And what the enemy does a lot of times is he can't destroy our relationships. We got that wrong. What he gets us to do is try to get us to destroy each other.
Oh.
So what happens is, remember I talked earlier about the different perspectives. What Satan will do is talk to the queen perspective and then talk to the king perspective. So look at this is deep. Satan is still talking to man, even though he's talking to Eve, because Eve comes from what? Man.
Right.
So what he did, let me talk to a different perspective of him and get them to kind of fight against each other.
Right.
In the end, they lose out. What am I saying? It's not the woman, the queen's responsibility to put the crown on the king.
Oh.
I'm gonna help y'all. It's your job as the queen is to make sure he realizes that the crown is available.
Wow.
Now, I wish I had time to rewind it. Some of y'all gonna get that tomorrow. While I know y'all might be getting ready to work. Some of y'all on here. Your responsibility as the queen, Black woman, is not to give us a kingship, because we're already kings. It's to make us aware that the crown that we possess is on the ground. Babe, you looking down today, your crown is on the floor. Quit saying how bad he is and how dirty he is, and you need to be doing better. Babe, do you know who you are? Your crown is on the floor. Your job is not to give him the crown, it's to make him aware.
Wow.
And he's a king in every way. You're a king. I know you failed. I know you're hurting. I know you're bleeding. Make him aware, because what we try to do is try to have a whole crowning ceremony, and that's exhausting for you queens, because now y'all giving so much. Y'all keep giving us stuff that we already been given.
Right.
I remember, did you ever watch Matrix?
Yes.
You ever saw the movie? Everybody was telling Neo he was a chosen one.
Right.
He didn't believe it. And this is what happened to a lot of our black men and king, because we've been stripped for 400 years. Quit trying to fix something that took 400 years. Take the responsibility off the women. I'm telling you, women, quit trying to take 400 years of stuff off your man.
Wow.
But what happens, something will click in him, because guess what? Everybody, the oracle. Your job is to be the oracle, being prophetic. The oracle in the movie Matrix kept telling me, "Oh, you're the chosen one, you're the chosen one, you're the chosen." One day it clicked, and when it clicked, he infiltrated the system. Can I say to people that's watching, it's gonna click for that man, and he's gonna infiltrate the system when he realized, man, I've been a king all along.
Wow. Wow. This was powerful, Dr. Oliver T. Reid. I love you so much. Like, we
Love
have
you too.
conversations and we just get somewhere else when it's just us and we have these powwows. So I just wanted to bring the people in and let them get to know who you are as a king, to let them get to know who you are as a man. So what I want you to do now is I want you to tell everybody that's listening where they can find you and what's coming up next for you.
Thank you, Trey. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your platform. It's one of the realest out there. And I just love what you do, man. You pull stuff out of me. I didn't even know I was going to be saying all this today. So I got on here. We're fooling with you at 9 o'clock. I got to go to work when I get off. Okay, but my biggest thing is, you can find me, but I want to tell people, if they want to invest in a game, a friendly way for you, and it's not just a romantic, it's also platonic way. It's called Manhandle Interview Game, where people can ask 116 questions, 29 cards, and 5 different ways you can play this. As a couple, one-on-one, as a group, a lot of relationship therapists getting this. What I love about it allows you to ask the hard questions amidst your relationship. I played it a lot of times, with people and their children, adult children. It's not just one of those things, but it finds ways to ask the hard questions. Go get that at www.interview, that's INNERVIEW game.com. And somebody can type that down below. But you can find me on Google, Dr. Oliver T. Reid. You can find me at the Relationship Architect. Also, you can, if you go on the web, you can go to www.your1solutioncoach.com, and everything's there, fully branded.
Yes, thank you so much for being here with me. If you just tuned in again, you're tuned in to #Coffee with T. I'm here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On Wednesday, I have women come on and share their experience. And this Wednesday, we're going to have Lyris Cross on, who is a plus size supermodel who broke the mold and let the world know that the standard of beauty that y'all have us thinking that we need to be, how she broke the mold is what we're going to talk about. But I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Coffee with T. And I thank you, Dr. Oliver T. Reid, for being here with me and all the nuggets that you dropped. I got notes. I'm sure the women who are watching got notes, and the men. And I would just like to say, you know what I say at the end of all my broadcasts? You deserve the best. Yes, I'm talking to you. You deserve the best. Now go get it. Peace and blessings. And remember Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. I'll see you at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Coffee with T. And that's Smitty. Peace. I love y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Reid.
Thank you.